And I'm joined now at the White House by former Admiral John Kirby, who is the coordinator for Strategic Communications on the National Security Council. John, thank you for being here. 11 U.S. citizens killed in these attacks. Do you expect that number to rise? And have you been able to confirm how many U.S. citizens could potentially be missing?
As much as we can to get as much information as we can about Americans over there. But sadly, yes, 2 more Americans now confirmed dead. It is possible that there could be more. And there's also a number of unaccounted for Americans, Ryan. We don't know where they are. We don't know how they are. And we also we can't ignore the possibility that some of those Americans could be held hostage now by Hamas. So again, we're working at this as hard as we can to get more information about them, but we don't have it right now.
And so what can the U.S. do right now to ensure the safe return of any of these potential hostages, American hostages? I mean, we're at the point now where Hamas is threatening to execute hostages if Israel bombs civilian targets. Does the United States have a role in those negotiations, especially if there are U.S. civilians' lives at stake?
I would just tell you, broadly speaking, that nothing's more important to President Biden and this administration than the safety and security of Americans overseas. And we will do what we need to do to see those Americans safely return to their families. We'll look after our national security interests. But obviously, we don't have boots on the ground here in this conflict. What we do have is significant national security interests and a concern for Americans. And we'll act on those concerns. But I won't go beyond that right now.
So how did this happen? How did both Israeli and U.S. intelligence networks miss something of this scale? And how big of an intelligence failure was this, that this attack of this level wasn't on Israel's radar?
You know, I think there's going to be a time when it's appropriate to take a look at the intel picture in the past and figure out what we knew, when we knew, who knew what, and whether we might have missed something here. Now's not that time, though, Ryan. Now's the time to make sure that we are lashed up, and we are with the Israelis, making sure that we are sharing intel and information with them in real time or as close to real time as possible, and that we are doing what we can to make sure they've got the tools, the capabilities, the weapons to continue to defend themselves.
The Republicans have obviously been critical about this situation and the potential connections to Iran. The United States, Iran, Hamas have all pushed back on the idea that this attack was crafted by Iran. But former U.S. officials have told NBC that the attack does bear the hallmarks of Iranian involvement. From your perch on the National Security Council, what does this tell you? And are you concerned about the role Iran may have played?
I think we have to be honest about the fact that certainly Iran is complicit here. I mean, they've been supporting Hamas now for many, many years, training, capabilities, financing. And there's no question that they are a state sponsor of terrorist groups like Hamas. So there's an air of complicity, no doubt about it. And we are looking actively to see if there's evidence, intelligence evidence and facts that point to specific Iranian participation in planning or resourcing these attacks. We just haven't found it. And I would say the same. Our Israeli counterparts have publicly said the same thing. They're looking. They have not found the quote-unquote smoking gun. But obviously, we're going to keep looking at this.
And does it concern you at all that the United States cut this deal with Iran just about a month ago in order to release prisoners there that included $6 billion that was provided unfrozen to the Iranian government? I know that money has not been formally released yet, but there's obviously been a connection made by some of your political opponents. What would you say about some of the information that's being put out around that particular talking point?
Well, I certainly can't speak to political issues because of the Hatch Act, so I won't go there. I would just tell you that there's no connection between the arrangements we made to get our Americans home and these attacks by Hamas here inside Israel. None of that money has been tapped by Iranian authorities. And by the way, the Iranian regime doesn't ever get any access to that money. None of it's been spent. None of it's been tapped. And if in case it is, it can only go through approved vendors for humanitarian purposes to the Iranian people, with whom we have no beef and no complaints. But the idea that somehow that arrangement is what facilitated this is just a completely inaccurate, incomprehensible reading of what's been happening over the last 24 to 36 hours.
Okay, so Israel has formally declared war against Hamas. Does that formal declaration mean anything to U.S. support? And what does that support look like practically in the coming days?
It's not going to change our plans to continue to support Israel. The president said that yesterday. Obviously, we have a long-standing defense relationship with them. That's not going to change. We are going to continue to make sure they have what they need, the tools they need to better defend themselves against these terrorists. That will continue. What it's going to look like in coming days, I think, Ryan, is going to depend on what happens on the ground. I mean, right now, we've already got at least one package of security assistance we know is on the way to Israel. In fact, may already be there. We are going to continue to lash up with them every day to make sure that future packages are meeting their needs as best they can. We have existing authorities, some existing appropriations to draw from. Certainly, if we need to go back to Congress for more such authorities or for more such appropriations, we'll do that. A lot of it's just going to depend on what happens on the ground.
Are you concerned that Congress right now effectively is paralyzed because there isn't a Speaker of the House? How could that complicate the needs that you may request from Congress?
Well, there is a Speaker pro tem, and there's obviously broad bipartisan support for continuing to help Israel as they defend themselves, bicameral as well. We know that. We're going to keep discussing and working with Congress, making sure that they're up to speed on what the needs are, and we're confident that we'll continue to get support.
Okay, and my last question for you, sir. The U.S. military sent an aircraft carrier to the eastern Mediterranean. Is there weaponry on board that ship that could be used in the conflict, and what other support will it provide?
Well, Carrier Strike Group is a pretty potent military force, so yes, of course, they're fully armed and capable of defending and protecting our national security interests. I won't speak to future operations one way or the other, but the main message of sending that Carrier Strike Group to the Eastern Med is one of reassurance and one of deterrence. Reassurance to the Israeli people and, quite frankly, to the American people that we're going to take seriously our national security interests no matter where they are, but also deterrence to any actor or nation state who thinks this might be a good time to take advantage of their hatred of Israel. This is a strong message that nobody should be looking at what's going on in Israel and try to take advantage of it.
Okay, Admiral John Kirby, thank you for your time. I know it is extremely busy at the White House right now. We appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.